Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is depict, and this verb was recommended by the viewer Louise. Louise, thank you so much for yet another great suggestion. Now, let's take a look at how we can use this verb. The verb depict can be used to mean to show or represent by a drawing, painting, or other art form. As this definition indicates, it is very common to see this verb being used to describe a variety of kinds of art. Even books and movies, not just kind of physical art like drawing and painting. And we'll see some examples of this a little bit later, but again, think show, represent. A second way you might see depict used can mean to describe or portray in words. So much like how I was saying, we might use books in definition 1, becomes even stronger here in definition number 2. This might also connect to other forms of writing like journalism, so think newspapers, magazines, etc. So again, we're describing or portraying someone or something as being a particular way. For now, you should know that depict is a regular verb. If you want to make the progressive form of this verb, all you need to do is add ing. That forms depicting. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding ed. Now our base verb depict ends in a T sound. And the T sound is a special one in English. When we add an ed ending to it, we're going to make an id sound. And this means we're adding an extra syllable to the verb. So the way we should pronounce the past tense and participle form of the verb is this way. Depicted. Depicted. Can you hear that id sound? Okay. Now, I do have one phrasal verb for us to share, that is to depict as. And you're going to see a connection to our earlier definition. So this phrasal verb means to portray someone or something in a particular way. An example of this might be, the movie depicted him as a horrible human being. So what this sentence is describing is likely a movie that's based on real people or real events. And we're saying it showed or it represented this individual and tried to show them in a very negative way. Now, what gets difficult sometimes with this is that real? Is it true? Well, in many situations, it's going to depend, right? But someone might choose to use this particular word, especially when they're not sure how truthful or how connected to real life something may be. So this verb can kind of couch that, yes, this is what an artist is showing us, but, right, it may be accurate, it may not. Now, let's continue to use our verb of the day, depict, in a couple different verb tenses. Today, we'll practice the simple present and the simple future. Let's start with the simple present. We use this verb tense to talk about our habits and routines. We also use it to discuss facts. And the thing that tends to be most difficult for people is that our verb is going to change depending on what our subject is. So in the affirmative, or when we're making a positive sentence, if your subject is I, you, we, or they, use the base verb. Okay? No special endings, no suffixes on the end. But if your subject is he, she, or it, you're going to add an S to the end of the verb. Let's take a look at an example. The sprawling mural depicts the history of the city. This would be a great example of a fact, right? Someone is describing what is being portrayed in this particular work of art. Now, let's talk about making negative sentences in the simple present. Again, we have to pay attention to our subject. If our subject is I, you, we, or they, we're going to use do not and then the base verb. But if the subject is he, she, or it, we'll use does not and then the base verb. Notice I'm not adding an S to the end of the verb here in the negative. Let's look at another example. The candidates' opinions don't depict our party's stance on this issue. So would tie a little more closely back to that second definition in terms of representing with words here. It is election season here in the United States. So as I looked for recent examples, I saw a newspaper article where someone had said something kind of crazy or outlandish. And even though this person was affiliated with a particular political party, the leaders of that political party were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No. He's not speaking for us. Now, let's take a look at making a yes or no question in the simple present. To do this, start with do or does. Then you're going to have your subject and then the base verb. Again, don't use an S with the verb here. Let's take a look at one more example. Does the movie depict your country accurately? Okay. So, in the past, I've worked with students from probably over 100 countries right now. I stopped counting a while ago, but many would tell me, you should watch this. It'll give you an idea. But then sometimes students would say, no, don't watch that particular movie. It doesn't really represent or show what my home country is like. So just another example of how you might encounter that. Now let's move on to the simple future. Today we're going to make sentences with will. Will is commonly used when people are making promises and predictions. They'll use it with offers. It's a little less common with plans, but it still happens. The nice thing about making sentences in the simple future with will is that our structure is going to stay the same no matter what our subject is. So in the affirmative, start with a subject, use will, and then use the base verb. No special endings. Here's an example. The city's holiday attraction and ice trail will depict traditional Christmas scenes as well as maritime wonders. Saw this sentence from a UK newspaper. A particular town was getting really excited and announcing their plans for December events connected to winter holidays. So here, right, they're discussing their plans. That's why we see will depict. And in case the word maritime is new for anyone, that's connected to the sea. So think things related to the ocean. So that appears to be one of their themes for this upcoming attraction. Now, if you want to make a negative sentence in the simple future with will, again, doesn't matter what your subject is, but start with that. Use will not and then the base verb. Will not can be combined into the contraction won't. W-O-N''T. You'll see it in my example here. Our movies won't depict smoking as cool and without consequences. I've heard various actors, directors, producers say things like this when it comes to how particular vices, negative things are shown. This was a particular promise someone was making in hopes of having a positive impact on teen smoking rates. Now, let's take a look at a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, start with will, then you're going to have your subject, then the base verb. Here's my last example. Will a movie depict the tragic event that occurs midway through the book? So maybe this has happened to some of your favorite books. You read it, maybe years go by, and eventually the book becomes a movie. I know a few times this has happened. I go to see the movie because I'm so excited. I love this book. and then it's just not as good. And some of it's because most movies tend to be about 2 hours long, and maybe not all events, all major things can be portrayed in that short amount of time. So each artist, director, writer, the whole team there will make decisions about that. But here is someone wanting to know if this particular thing that was in the book will also be in the movie. Now, let's take a moment and look at some words that are related to our verb depict. The first word we're going to talk about is the noun form of this word, depiction. Now, you'll notice this. We have a different suffix here, a tion, and that suffix has sometimes given some of my learners a little bit of trouble, so that we're not making a T sound with this noun. The TI is actually making kind of an SH sound, a sh. Let me say that word for you one more time, depiction. This is a really common pattern that occurs in English. You'll notice a lot of nouns that end with tion. And we can look back to that root word. So this noun means the action or result of depicting something, especially in art. So we can kind of go back to those earlier definitions of representing, showing, portraying something in words. An example of this noun in a sentence: the painting's depiction of war is both moving and horrifying. All right, so what is shown, what is represented, causes these particular feelings. Now, one more word for us to discuss today. It's the noun depictor. This is going to be a person or thing that represents another person or thing through visual art or through words. An example of this: the artist was a playful depictor of serious subjects in his sculptures and paintings. I saw this description in a recent obituary, so a story announcing and reflecting on the life of an individual who has passed away. So kind of describing, even though the person maybe made art about very serious things, he portrayed or showed them in a rather playful way. Thank you again to Luis for suggesting today's video, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great day.